Hello, my name is Olga. Thank you for stopping at my channel one more time. Today I would like to demonstrate you a method of creating a cross-stitch pattern that looks like the portrait made of Rubik cubes. I'm sure you have seen those Rubik cubes portrait everywhere on internet. It's quite a popular and very interesting thing to make. It looks very modern and it takes quite a lot of space if you will really want to make it from the Rubik's Cube. But every time I look at those images they create, those portraits, I cannot stop thinking how much close to cross-stitch image those portraits look like. And I was trying to figure out some way of creating cross-stitch pattern that would look pretty much like the Rubik's Cube portrait. And I have come up with some solution to this problem, and today I would like to share it with you. You will not need anything except internet, Google, and maybe some software to view PDF files. Everything else can be done online these days. The things that I need to do to make such a Rubik's Cube portrait as a cross-stitch pattern. So let's see how we can achieve that. I found a website which I will put in the description down below. It is called Best Site Ever /Mosaic. And as you can see here, it suggests you an option to create Rubik's Cube portrait as a PDF file from the photo. So today I would like to show how you can use the photo you have, a photo of you, of your friend, or anything else you may want to make into a Rubik's Cube portrait, and what are the steps of the process. Probably portraits will be the best to make that would look like Rubik's Cube portrait, so we will be going with a portrait of a person. I haven't tried pet portrait or anything like that, but of course you can give it a try, maybe it will work as well. To start with, we need some photo to use, and I've been thinking about what images, what photos I can use, and I just decided that I'm gonna be using a portrait of Lady Diana. This one I have already downloaded. I really like it. It looks very nice. It looks very fresh, young, and I just wanted to try to make this into a Rubik's Cube style cross-stitch pattern. The things that you have to pay attention to when choosing the image to make into this type of pattern is the eyes. The eyes should be as open and wide as possible, of course, while it's looking natural, because the eyes are pretty much the hardest to depict in this style. So I'm gonna be showing how those things can be done. And additional thing you may want to do is also to remove the background of the image. As you can see here, the example portrait, the lady is on the very light background, so it will be considered pretty much like white. Those type of portraits there can be done on both black and white photo and the color photo, because it is not depicting between different colors but more of the shades of gray. So it doesn't matter if you're using black and white photo or color photo. But what is important is that you have to either use a picture with a very light background like here, or you have to remove background if the background is dark, and also you'd rather be using a part where the face is seen the best. But this can be adjusted while making the portrait in this website. So for now we're only going to be dealing with the removing of background. This of course can be done online, free of charge. You don't need to pay anything. You can use the website like I'm using here. It's called remove.bg, where you just click upload image. I have already uploaded there, but I will do it again. So you're taking the image from the folder where you have saved the image. Click open, give it a moment, and it is doing magic by itself. But sometimes, as you can see here, this top of the head where the hair is was also removed by accident, because the software is not perfect and it makes some mistakes, as all we do. So to fix this, you click this edit button and go here in this tab erase restore. And since we don't want to erase anything from anywhere, but we need to restore a part, you click restore. You pick the brush size. It can be a bit smaller or larger depending on your needs. And you just brush it back, like kind of painting over where the hair is. So okay, like that. I probably removed a bit too much. So I will use erase button now, and I will remove this part. And maybe this part, and maybe this part as well. It will not matter much because the Rubik's Cube style portrait will not be giving very tiny details, of course, but it's still good to use something a bit more clear. So you click download image, and you save it to the folder where you need. I have image already here, so I will just save it again. And now we have an image which we will be able to use to create a Rubik's Cube mosaic and portrait. To start, you click on the button upload image. You use the image you have just worked on and click open. So what we can see here, those are quite important parts for us. The maximum amount of width and length is 100, and height, is 100 by 100. So in this case, we have more or less rectangular photo. So I would keep 80 to 100, because if I will be reducing it to increasing width to 90 or 100, it will become more square, and I don't want it. I want it to be more like this, more close to original portrait. And also in this case, you can also pick the styles of cube. So if you will pick 2 by 2 by 2, that means that each pixel in this 80 will be multiplied by 2. And it's gonna be a bit complicated in terms of cross stitch pattern, because it will be displaying it a bit weirdly. So in terms of cross stitch, I highly advise you to use 1 pixel, because will be better to see it and to work with it as a cross stitch pattern. But of course you can play around and try your options, but I found this way to be more effective in terms of cross stitch. So we picked up our size, we picked up 1 pixel. Here you can also cut out a bit more or a bit less depending on your preferences. So let's keep it like this, and we click next. So you can see that it immediately gave you several options. A Rubik's Cube has 6 colors, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 6. But I have noticed that most of the Rubik's Cube portrait look more like a combination of blue, red, orange, and yellows and whites. So I would be keeping to this iconic style. And here, as you can see, it gives different options, as I have told already. So I will be keeping up to those first 6. And here you can select the image that, to your opinion, looks more close to the original image you have. For example, here the face is more white. It has more white areas. And I'm not really a fan of this, because then the nose is almost gone and it looks a bit weird. I would prefer image number 2 or number 3. I'm trying to see. Also, it's very important to look at the eyes, that the eyes will be more visible. Of course, this part of the right eye is a bit lost in the shade, and it will probably be staying like this. But I think it still will keep the idea of the portrait no matter what. So I would suggest to go with the second style because I don't like those red parts on this cheek. So I would probably stick to this second option. But of course, it's a matter of individual choice, whatever you prefer. So I click on this. And here, as you can see, it again gives you several options based on the image you clicked in the previous screen. So here again, you have to look at those images and decide which of those you like the best. Which of those, in your opinion, reflects the original image the best. So let's see how they are advising us. What are the options they're giving us? I think I like this one a bit more, or maybe even this one. I like when there is a bit where the skin on the face is not just purely white, when it has these additional shades of yellow and orange. But I don't want it to be having those red parts because it looks a bit weird, in my opinion. Also, this side line. Oh, sorry, I clicked it by accident. Okay, I think I'll have to. Unfortunately, in this case, you cannot click back, so you have to start all over again, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm deeply apologizing for my misfortunate click. So let's do it one more time. It was this one. Okay, we're back. Okay. Still cannot decide fully on what I'm gonna do. I think I like the parts where the eye has this dark blue shade. It looks nicer. So I'm gonna be going with those ones which had a bit more dark blue in the eye. Okay, it doesn't really matter right now because I'm doing it for educational purposes, but I still want it to look nicer. So let's be going with okay, let's be going with this one. Okay, we have picked, and again, as on the previous screen, it's now giving us options of the image based on the image you clicked before. So each step it's trying to bring you closer and closer to the perfect result. Giving you more and more options. Let's see. I am not a fan of this part here, so I don't want to pick this image. Okay, let's just go with the first one. I think it looks nice. And again, as every step before, it gives you pretty much 3 steps to adjust the image to get the final one perfect. And let's get the perfect one. Let's get the best one. I'm already a bit lost because I have seen so many options of the same portrait already. Okay, let's stay with this one. Now we click it, and it's the tada, the final version of the image that you have picked. You may not think of it as a good option, but it is of course a question of personal preferences. I just wanted to show how those things can be done. Here it shows you the number of colors you need to have in all 4 shades. A bit later I will put the numbers of DMC which I found closest to those images, to those colors. And for now, before you click download PDF, you have to do one additional step, two to be specific. So you click more options, and it gives you those additional options. Those first two, this color, it just shows how the image would look like if the plastic of the Rubik's Cube itself will be black or white. We don't care in this at all because we are not making it out of Rubik's Cube. But here, what is very important is the PDF block size in pixels, meaning the program will divide this whole image by this amount of pixels height and width as it is giving you now. For example, right now it will be dividing this image to blocks, which is 6 pixels wide and 8 pixels height. And here, what you really need to do if you want to make a cross-stitch pattern that it will be easy to use is to increase everything to 10, and then it will be pretty much matching the classic cross-stitch grid 10 by 10, and it will be way easier for you to stitch it. Also, you will select output bottom to top, which means that when you will be going through PDF, the lowest part will be in the bottom, which makes sense for Rubik's Cube because you work from bottom to top. But in cross stitch it doesn't matter, so I uncheck this box. And also draw letters. That's important for us to be able to find our position in the final PDF. Black and white, you can do it if you have problems printing color, but I'm not printing anything yet. I just will open the PDF. So this is my final option, and I click download PDF. I will save it to my location. And now let's see what we got. It's still downloading. Here it is. I have found it. So I'm opening it in Foxit Phantom PDF, but you can use any PDF viewer you may have at your computer. It doesn't matter. And here is the result. As you can see on top, it says 80 to 100, which is 8,000 pixels. Or in our case, you can see crosses. By the way, I wanted to see how large will be the size. So I'm using the Yarn Tree cross stitch calculator. So I'm putting 80 to 100. And I'm leaving 0 for borders. I'm not interested in this now. And fabric count, I put a standard 14 count item. Calculate size. So the stitched area will be 5 and 3.4 inches wide by 7, 1.8 inches high. I'm not usually using imperial metric, so it's hard for me to figure out how much is this, but I think it will be approximately 15 to 20 centimeters in size, which is not very large amount of cross stitches to make. So I think this is a very suitable format, so you will be able to stitch the portrait in reasonable amount of time. So let's go back to our PDF. So since we have asked the program to put letters, it gives us letters. So you can find, as you can see, and I have told you, it has graded the final result to blocks 10 by 10. So you can imagine this as a standard cross stitch pattern with grid 10 by 10, which is quite suitable. If you don't grid it, of course you can pick any other alternative option, but I grind my images, my patterns, so I like it to be 10 by 10 exactly. So this is the final image, and the whole PDF is quite large. It's 81 pages long. So if you will be printing it, you'll have to be careful. So you would be better working from the tablet or something. But this is so huge because it gives the individual page for each individual block 10 by 10. So it will matter if probably for some people, but in a way you only have 4 colors which are easily distinguishable between each other. So you can just increase the first page and you will be able to just stitch it as it is, because you can see this is 10 by 10 square and you can see reds, oranges, yellows and blues. That's pretty easy and simple. So you don't actually need to print all 80 pages of the pattern. You can only just increase the size of the final pattern of the first page and just print it off of that, and you will be able to use to make it. So if I would want to make this Princess Diana portrait, I would need a size of the canvas approximately, let's say 7 by 9 inches, and I will need exactly 4 colors: blue, red, orange, yellow, or 5 if you want to stitch white as a separate or leaving white as a white canvas. But though I would probably prefer to you also stitch whites, at least on the portrait, not on the background. And the final thing is those colors. I would like to recommend as a DMC threads for those kind of portraits. I think DMC 307, 606, 972 and 995 are the best matching those style of portraits, and I will put them in the description box down below as well, or somewhere here on the screen. But of course it is personal preference, it's just the ones I have found to be the closest. If you're interested in how to pick the colors based off the photo of the image, I will put the link to my other video about DMC color picker. That's another very suitable, very useful cross stitch tool for people who make patterns. So as you can see, we have just used maybe 10 minutes or so to get this result. I think it looks very nice, and when I will have my time, I would probably make a portrait like this for myself or one of my friends or someone else. I think it is very nice and modern and clean looking, and also it will not take much time or effort or threads to stitch it. So that is it for now. Thank you for your attention. I will see you again soon. Goodbye.